for his own girlfriends at some point, which legal analysts
when they went
say
and
is
asked
the
her
strongest piece
for the
of
money,
evidence.
did they say what it was for?
That's
You know,
right.
we almost had.
We're going to take it away here, Eric, and I'll get back to you right after
Okay.
Edward speaks. He's going to, in fact, give a statement, but not take any questions. I'll be curious to hear, what he has to say, his reaction, and of course, his daughter, who has been by his side the whole time, very supportive, is there. Let's take a listen.
Well, I wanted to say first, thank you for the jurors and their incredibly hard work and their diligence. They took their job very, very seriously. As we saw both during the trial, the attention they paid to the evidence during the trial, the presentations of the lawyers, and the fact that they've now spent almost 9 full days deliberating, trying to reach a fair and just result under the evidence and the law. And all I can say is thank goodness we live in a country that has the kind of system that we have. And I think those jurors were an exemplar for what juries are supposed to do in this country. They were very, very impressive. The second thing I want to say just a word about is responsibility. And this is about me. I want to make sure that everyone hears from me and from my voice that while I do not believe I did anything illegal or ever thought I was doing anything illegal, I did an awful, awful lot that was wrong. And there is no one else responsible for my sins. None of the people who came to court and testified are responsible. Nobody working for the government is responsible. I am responsible. And if I want to find the person who should be held accountable for my sins, honestly, I don't have to go any further than the mirror. It's me. It is me and me alone. Next thing I want to say a word about are the people that I love, because it's been an incredible experience for me to watch my parents. My dad just turned 80, my mom, who's 78, tromp up here from Robbins, North Carolina every day to be with me and to support me. And I love them so much, and they did such a wonderful job raising me and my brother Blake and my sister Kathy, who I also love dearly. I also want to say a word about my own children. Kate, who most all of you have seen, has been here every single day. She has been here no matter what, no matter how awful and painful a lot of the evidence was for her. Evidence about her dad, evidence about her mom, who she loves so, so dearly, but she never once flinched. She said, Dad, I love you, I'll be there for you, no matter what. And I'm so proud to have had her with me through all this process. And then finally, Emma, who turned 14 recently, Emma Claire, and Jack, who just turned 12, who I take care of every day. And I've not been able to see them quite as much, but I see them in the morning, I get their breakfast ready, get them off to school, and then we get home at night and we all eat supper together. And I love them both so dearly, and they're such an important part of every day of my life. And then finally, my precious Quinn. Who I love more than any of you could ever imagine. And I am so close to and so, so grateful for. So grateful for Quinn. I'm grateful for all my children, including my son Wade, who we lost years ago. But you know, this is the last thing I'm going to say. I don't think God's through with me. I really believe He thinks there's still some good things I can do. And whatever happens with this legal stuff going forward, what I'm hopeful about is all those kids that I've seen, you know, in the poorest parts of this country and in some of the poorest places in the world, that I can help them in whatever way I'm still capable of helping them. And I want to dedicate my life to being the best dad I can be and to helping those kids who I think deserve help and who I hope I can help. Thank you all very much.
All right, well, imagine what a fall from grace. John Edwards, once considered a top contender to be President of the United States of America, finding his fate in the hands of the jurors today, acquitted on one count, not guilty. The other counts hung, giving a statement saying that he doesn't believe that God is done with him and that he wants to dedicate his life to being the best father that he can be for his children. He mentioned his daughter Kate, who has never left his side, has been there throughout the proceedings every day in the courtroom, even took the stand. He also mentioned Emma Claire, Jack, his two children that he shared with Elizabeth Edwards, of course also mentioning Wade, his son that passed away, and baby Quinn that he had with Riel Hunter. So I want to get some thoughts here from around the table. If I begin with you, Eric.
Yeah, can I just make a point? John Edwards stepped up to the podium and said, I want everyone to hear my voice. The problem is now he wants everyone to hear his voice because he apparently didn't want them to hear his voice on the stand when he had to raise his right hand and testify. There's nothing like a perp walk to deter bad behavior, Bob. This would have been a perfect example. You were pointing out before Edwards spoke that there needs to be, I guess, some fixing of the FEC rules. A perp walk like that, I think it would deter a lot of people from doing it going forward. Now, who knows? Maybe it's open the floodgates.
Well, he that last part of that statement of his was his campaign. That was basically his theme about going around the country and helping people who are poor people. And it sounded almost like a campaign speech near the end. I can assure you that God may want to use him to do those things, but it isn't going to be as an elected politician. That's for sure. It is one of the most stunning fall from grace I've seen in politics, and I've seen a lot of politics.
Even Tiger Woods laughs at that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was. I'm not surprised you mentioned the baby house. You did not mention the baby, but I have seen this. I know this guy. I mean, I've spent time talking to him, and many times. And I tell you, a guy who was so considered himself such a superior politician.
Yeah.
And so sure of himself, to see him up here making these statements is stunning to me.
And one of the most successful trial lawyers in the country, Brian. I mean, this was a man that was revered. He was in every magazine. He had a wonderful wife who battled triumphantly against breast cancer, and then only to, at the end of her life, have this happen. It's just a very troubling story.
It is a troubling story, and I tell you what, Eric, total deterrent. Even the fact that he's not getting 30 years or not guilty on anything, the humiliation that he suffered going through this. And the thing is that I found hard to believe, if you're not a lawyer and you get caught in an FCC problem, that's one thing. But this guy is a self-proclaimed, and his bank account reveals it, a very successful lawyer.
Yes.
So how could you not know what you're doing, funneling money to two Riel Hunters on the side? The other thing that they kept in mind is how long this went on. 17 days of testimony, 9 days of deliberation, and we didn't see any of the major players. Riel Hunter, nowhere to be found. John Edwards wouldn't find the trial. Elizabeth Edwards never put anything on tape. So we just saw Andrew Young, who's hardly likable, yet he says, I don't tell the truth, but believe me now.
Do you think that was part of the problem, that the jury really seized upon that? Because there wasn't any, evidence or testimony. He has a right to not take the stand and to take the fifth, John Edwards. But nevertheless, they weren't left with very much to work with, as you said.
Right, and I'm fascinated. I'm fascinated by the fact that he did mention Quinn. I guess that's the baby. Did not mention Riel Hunter. I think everybody, one thing was clear, they are afraid of her. I think she's a loose cannon, and I'm very curious to see what happens next with her and where she might appear.
Andrea, from a political perspective, give us your analysis on this and, your takeaway about his remarks, the tone, the tenor, and what you think the future may hold for John Edwards.
I think it was astounding. I mean, this is the first time we've really heard from Edwards since it'll be a year this summer, 2008, I think it was when the affair broke. So it's been a lot of time. We've heard from Elizabeth Edwards. We heard from Riel Hunter in a magazine. We haven't heard from him. I think this was his apology to the nation, but he hit the crux of it. He did a very, very bad thing, but it wasn't an illegal thing.
Right.
And so again, apology to the nation. I think it struck the right tone, but he's done in politics, and I'm not sure this can repair or deter any future people.
Could get a talk show.
Politicians have.
Because he's such a good lawyer, I think is the reason he thought he was going to beat this, because he knew these FEC laws were almost impossible the way they're written to prosecute somebody. That's why I think he was pretty confident throughout the trial.
And he had excellent representation. Go ahead.
Quick observation. When O.J. Simpson was acquitted, he came out and he said, I'm going to spend the rest of my life looking for Nicole's killer. And then it kind of went on the side, and John Edwards comes to the podium and says, I'm going to work for kids going forward. Do you think he's going to work for kids?
Yeah.
I don't know.
All right. And in Greensboro, North Carolina, John Edwards, one-time contender for the presidency of the United States, has left the courtroom, making his comments with his daughter and his parents and by his side We're going to have more on this stunning verdict coming up. John Edwards not guilty of illegal campaign contributions. Plus, Presidents Obama and President Bush spent some quality time together today at the White House. And we have our very own Dana Perino. She had a front row seat for all of us here for the festivities and will give us a play-by-play of what she saw today when we come back. Please stay with us.